A pleasant evening to all and welcome to the Erudite News Hour, MTM TV's news magazine. Thank you for joining us. I am Karika McGregor-Clue. Special greetings to viewers on our website, and if you're watching on our YouTube channel, feel free to leave comments. Coming up in the news tonight, woman 80 banned by pool for accusing transgender female of watching girls undress. Israeli COVID vaccine director, who was physically injured by Pfizer vaccine, is locked out of Twitter after suggesting a link between monkeypox outbreak and mRNA vaccines. CDC estimates 1.7 million gay and bisexual men face highest risk from monkeypox. We go right now for a short break, but stay tuned. The details when we return. Welcome back. An elderly woman in Washington state was banned from her community pool after she accused a biological male of watching young girls change in the women's shower room. Julie Jayman, an 80-year-old woman, is prohibited from swimming at the Mountain View Pool, a facility run by the YMCA, for actions she took on July 26 when she accused a biological male of watching young girls get naked in the female showers, according to a report. Jayman was showering in the woman's room when she heard a male voice and saw an individual looking at little girls as they were taking off their suits, she said. The individual was identified as Clementine Adams, a supposed pool employee, the report noted. There were gaps in the curtain and there I was naked with soap and water on me and this guy right there very close to me, Jayman said. I asked, do you have a penis? He said, that's none of your business. That's when I told him, get out of here right now. Jayman left the showers and informed Rowan DeLuna, an aquatics manager, of the situation. Rather than sympathizing with the elderly woman, DeLuna banned her, according to Jayman. You're discriminating and you can't use the pool anymore, and I'm calling the police, DeLuna said, according to the report. Another staff member told Jayman not to leave the facility. Bull, I'm going to the police right now. I want help and I need it immediately, she told the employee. My experience after having my swim was hearing a man's voice in the women's dressing area and seeing a man in a woman's swimsuit watching little girls pull down their bathing suits in order to use the toilets in the dressing room. I reacted by telling him to leave, and the consequence is that I have been banned from the pool, Jayman said at a subsequent city council meeting, the report noted. There is no signage informing women the shower room is now all gender and what that means, nor have parents been informed of what they can expect with these new policies, she continued. The Y has not provided any dressing shower room options for women who do not want to be exposed to men who identify as women. It is unconscionable that the YMCA would implement these new policies without clearly informing pool patrons and parents. Officials need to make sure that young girls are safe at their local facilities, Jayman said. The YMCA, the city, the police and sheriffs, the parents, the professionals who assist victims of voyeurism, peeping toms, pedophilia, and assault need to come together figured out how to make the new policies work for all pool patrons, not just one group. How to keep children who are less able to discriminate safe. It is ironic that women who discriminate when a situation threatens their safety or their children, a message from our ancestors, are now accused of discrimination as if they have made someone else a victim. Meanwhile, physician and scientist Professor Shmuel Shapira, MD, has been the director of the Israel Institute for Biological Research for 8 years from 2013 to 2021. He recently claimed that mRNA vaccinations caused the monkeypox outbreak, as reported by Kanoka Substack Professor Shapiro, who suffered from an adverse reaction following his third Pfizer vaccine, was suspended by Twitter last week and was compelled to remove a tweet where he linked the monkeypox outbreak to the COVID vaccines. Monkeypox cases were rare for years. During the last years, a single case was documented in Israel. It is well established that mRNA vaccines affect the natural immune system. A monkeypox outbreak following massive COVID vaccination is not a coincidence, Shapiro wrote on his Twitter. Each incident may not be tied to the vaccine, but the clustering and the timing suggested differently, the professor added last week. On Tuesday, Professor Shapiro wrote again regarding the obscured long-term side effects of the mRNA vaccine. Myocarditis, fatal arrhythmias, 20% increase in strokes, facialis, herpes zoster, tinnitus, ear ringing, gynecological excessive bleeding, monkeypox, obscured long-term side effects. No worries, be happy, he wrote. On June 8, 2022, Shapiro said, I will continue and ask why give an outdated fifth vaccine that does not prevent disease and apparently causes many significant common side effects. On July 5, 2022, Shapiro discussed the son of a 36-year-old Australian friend who developed severe ventricular arrhythmias and went into heart failure only days after the second Pfizer vaccine. The compensation is automatic by the Australian government, he said. Despite the behavior of their government, they admit to the connection, and the phrase no connection does not appear in the lexicon. Inter-terrorism, ICT, at Reichman University in Israel. On July 15, 2022, Shapiro shared a chart of New South Wales COVID rates showing an increased risk of COVID infection with every new dose of the mRNA vaccine, on which he commented. According to official data from Australia, the more you are injected, the more likely you are to get sick, as the fourth injection jumps the chance dramatically. According to this study, it is supposedly an anti-vaccine, at least according to what I have been taught. On July 18, 2022, Shapiro said, I am not anti-vaccine. I am anti-stupidity, anti-fake science, and anti-incompetent management. On July 28, 2022, Shapiro said, T warned me to remove the T connecting MP to C. Each day I understand better where we live and in which year. In other words, Twitter warned him to remove the tweet connecting monkeypox to the COVID vaccine. And in other news, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention estimates about 1.7 million men who have sex with men face the biggest threat from monkeypox right now. CDC Director Rochelle Walensky told reporters on a call Thursday that gay and bisexual men who are HIV positive or who are taking medicines called PrEP to reduce their chance of contracting HIV face the greatest health risk from monkeypox. That's the population we have been most focused on in terms of vaccination, Walensky said. The U.S. has secured 1.1 million doses of the two-dose vaccine Jynneos so far, according to the Health and Human Services Department. The federal government has delivered more than 600,000 doses of the vaccine since May, according to HHS. Monkeypox has been spreading primarily through skin-to-skin contact during sex among gay and bisexual men, public health officials say. About 98% of patients who provided demographic information to clinics identified as men who have sex with men, according to the CDC. But public health officials have repeatedly emphasized that anyone can catch the disease through physical contact with someone who has it or contaminated materials such as bed sheets and towels. But as infections rise, the risk grows that the virus could start spreading more broadly. At least 2 children in the U.S. have caught monkeypox, likely through transmission within their families, according to the CDC. The U.S. has confirmed more than 6,600 cases of monkeypox in 48 states, Washington, D.C., and Puerto Rico as of Thursday, according to the CDC. The actual number of infections is likely higher because people can only get tested for the virus after they develop the rash, which can take a week or more in some cases. Clinicians swab the rash to take the specimen for the test. Monkeypox is rarely fatal, and no deaths have been reported in the U.S. so far. But patients can suffer debilitating pain from the rash caused by the virus. We go right now for a short break, but stay tuned. We return with the following. Total number of people crossing English Channel in small boats passes 18,000. New tropical wave detected heading towards Caribbean. When we come back.
We cannot ask the people who programmed us into oblivion to program us out of it. Education has but one honorable purpose, one alone. Everything else is nonsense. And that is to train the student to be a respectful and a responsible handler of power. People do not train you in how to take their power away from them when they hold power by controlling you. To expect this of other people is a contradiction in terms. Freedom is something you do not wish upon, you do not dream upon. Freedom is something you take with your own hands. And when people dictate the content of education, they're dictating what goes into your mind. And when they dictate that, they're going to dictate your action. And though you might lie about it, so long as you are in this position, you are some form of a slave. Free yourselves from it and do not expect others to do it for you. We stop begging at the door of people who reduced us to beggars.
Welcome to this week's special news item story. As monkeypox strikes gay men, officials debate warnings to limit partners. Thousands of gay men clad in leather, latex, and often much less partied along Folsom Street last weekend during the annual Kink and Feshes Festival. even after the city had just declared the monkeypox outbreak striking its gay community a health emergency. One day after the World Health Organization urged men to sleep with fewer men to reduce transmission, San Francisco public health officials made no attempt to rein in festivities or warn attendees to have less sex. As the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention weighs whether to recommend limiting sex partners, health officials in San Francisco, Chicago, New York, and other U.S. cities battling surges disproportionately sickening gay men are avoiding calls for sexual restraint, wary of further stigmatizing same-sex intimacy. Public health authorities typically emphasize safer sex over abstinence to prevent the spread of diseases through intimate contact. But monkeypox is presenting new challenges in calibrating the right message to stop the rare virus from becoming endemic while limiting government intrusion into the bedroom. If people want to have sex, they are going to have sex, said California State Senator Scott Wiener, who is involved in the city's monkeypox response. I know people who normally go to sex parties who will not. People will make their own decisions about their own risk levels. More than 6,600 cases of monkeypox have been detected in the United States, prompting the Biden administration to declare a public health emergency Thursday to galvanize awareness. The virus primarily spreads through exposure to uninfected persons' rashes or lesions, and this is the first outbreak in which contact during sex appears to be the significant driver. While infections are heavily concentrated among men who have sex with men, others can contract the virus through non-sexual contact and sharing contaminated items. Many public health officials and activists who spent decades on the front lines of the battle against HIV/AIDS say they have learned it is futile to tell people to have less sex. That stance puts them at odds with the WHO, a top New York epidemiologist who condemned the city's messaging, and others within the gay community who say gay men deserve direct warnings before it is too late to end the outbreak. Stay tuned to the Erudite News Hour for more special news items. Thank you for watching. Continuing in the news, the total number of people who have crossed the English Channel so far this year has passed 18,000, Ministry of Defense figures suggest. On Saturday, 337 people crossed the channel in 10 small boats, bringing this total number of people brought to the UK this year to 18,108. The milestone was broken just 5 days after 696 people were rescued by Border Force and brought to shore on Monday, the busiest day for channel crossings so far this year. PA analysis of the MOD's provisional figures shows 1,709 people have been brought to the UK so far in August. That is more than half of the 3,053 people rescued in August 2021. The vast majority were brought to shore in Dover. However, many, including those brought to shore on August 1, were taken to the port of Ramsgate due to concerns about congestion around the Dover port caused by freight and holiday maker traffic. The busiest week for crossings so far in 2022 was the week to April 19, when 2,076 people made the dangerous journey across the channel. However, it is likely crossings will continue into next week, with the Met Office confirming warm weather and calm winds are set to continue in the southeast of England. A spokesman said, "We take the safety and well-being of thousands of people in asylum accommodation support extremely seriously and are committed to ensuring that individuals are protected from the heinous crime of modern slavery. Where we suspect an asylum seeker is in danger or at risk of exploitation, we will take the appropriate action, such as working with the police or supporting someone through the national referral mechanism. We would urge any asylum seeker who may be in trouble to report it immediately. Our new plan for immigration will fix the broken asylum system, enabling us to grant protection to those entitled to it and to quickly remove those with no right to be here more quickly." And finally, according to the National Hurricane Center in Miami, a tropical wave was reported near the west coast of Africa on Sunday, August 7, 2022, and is moving in the direction of the Caribbean. Based on the National Hurricane Center data, the system has a 40% chance of formation over the next 5 days. In the meantime, the tropical wave is producing disorganized showers and thunderstorms over the far eastern tropical Atlantic, and environmental conditions appear generally conducive for gradual development of this system while it moves westward to west-northwestward at 15 to 20 miles per hour across the eastern and central tropical Atlantic. A tropical depression could form around the middle to latter part of this week. If you hear that there is a tropical storm or hurricane watch or warning in the Caribbean, you must take steps to get ready. Prepare an emergency supply kit. This should also include emergency power sources such as flashlights. Don't forget extra batteries, candles, matches, and cell phone chargers. Always keep an emergency kit in your car. If you need to leave home, you should take your emergency supply kit and only take what you really need with you: cell phone, chargers, medicines, identification like a passport or license, and cash. Safely store important documents, including medical documents, wills, passports, and personal identification. All vessels should be secured as quickly as possible. Move cars and trucks into your garage or undercover to a place where they will not be threatened by a fallen tree. Write down emergency phone numbers and keep them on the refrigerator or near every phone in your house. Program them into your cell phone too. Be ready to turn off your power. If you see flooding down the power lines or you have to leave your home, switch your power off. Fill clean water containers with drinking water. Unplug your appliances. If you have time, turn off the gas, electricity, and water. Stock up with non-perishable food such as canned goods and things you can eat quickly and easily without refrigeration. You can protect items such as critical documents, laptops, and phones from water damage in plastic containers and even garbage bags. Discuss an emergency plan with your family. Now to end the news, a quick recap of tonight's main points. Woman 80 banned by pool for accusing transgender female of watching girls undress. Israeli COVID vaccine director who was physically injured by Pfizer vaccine is locked out of Twitter after suggesting link between monkeypox outbreak and mRNA vaccines. CDC estimates 1.7 million gay and bisexual men face highest risk from monkeypox. Total number of people crossing English Channel in small boats passes 18,000. New tropical wave detected heading towards Caribbean. Stay tuned with us. Coming up, it's Miss Jenny Campbell with her news commentary and Dr. David Carr with her health and wellness segment.
Welcome to this week's news commentary. I'm Jenny Campbell. The news this evening is reporting that the total number of people who have crossed the English Channel so far this year has passed 18,000. Now understand this. These people who are crossing the dangerous waters in small overcrowded boats are risking their lives and the lives of young children, even babies, with the hope of finding a better life in Britain, a country that is largely responsible for the underdevelopment of their own home countries in the first place. The poorest people from different places take this risk in pursuit of a better life. In the Caribbean, many persons have headed to the Mexican border with the United States with the hope to wade through deep, murky waters and scale barbed wire fences to get to the American mainland. Today, over 70 million people around the world have been forced or decided to leave their homeland, whether as regular refugees or economic refugees. Now, there are these two different types of refugees. An economic refugee normally leaves a country voluntarily to seek a better life. A regular refugee flees because of the threat of persecution and cannot return safely to their home in the circumstances that were prevailing. The news this evening quoted research findings that indicate that inadequate support for refugees is exposing these fleeing people who are in need of protection to grave harm. It cites examples of vulnerable asylum seekers forced into modern-day slavery, including domestic servitude, sexual and labor exploitation, and forced criminality. People are running from starvation, abuse, and persecution into our most certain exploitation. Unfortunately, very few countries welcome these desperate asylum seekers with open arms. In fact, the United Kingdom recently signed an agreement with Rwanda to process asylum seekers of African origin in that country and away from UK territory. The UK-Rwanda deal seeks to remove illegal immigrants, which include largely refugees, from the UK for processing their asylum claims outside of Europe, where they really don't belong according to the UK. And of course, these deported asylum seekers are being housed in Rwanda in this very same hostel that was home for genocide survivors in that country. So you're running from death back to a place of death. This very ironic placement inspired the fact that sometimes refusing refugees from a particular country could very well be likened to genocide against a particular set of people. Let's look at Exodus 22, 21 to 24. And I'm going to take it from the Message version so that it's plain and clear to all of us. It reads, "Don't abuse or take advantage of strangers. You, remember, were once strangers in Egypt." 22 to 24. "Don't mistreat widows or orphans. If you do and they cry out to me, you can be sure I'll take them most seriously. I'll show my anger and come raging among you with the sword. and your wives will end up widows, and your children orphans. That's the word of God. So God has set out his standard for how we should treat these strangers seeking refuge. So too as the United Nations. On the United Nations Convention to Refugees, there are some established rights of those who seek protection. These rights include, but are not limited to, the right to non-discrimination, the right to work, freedom of religion, the right to housing, the right to not be penalized for illegal entry, the right not to be expelled from a country unless that refugee is a criminal. The war between Russia and the Ukraine demonstrated for the whole world to see how refugees should be and should not be treated. Unfortunately, it demonstrated more about how some countries treat one set of refugees as against another, based on the color of their skin and the country of origin. But refugees, according to scriptures, are not without recourse. If they, as we read earlier, especially the widows and the orphans among them, decide to cry out to God, He, our God Jehovah, promises to hear them and act on their behalf. I leave you with the promise that God has made to those who abuse and mistreat strangers among them. It says, God says, I'll show my anger and come raging among you with the sword, and your wives will end up widows and your children orphans. Could this be what is happening in some places that are known to refuse strangers? It is time we do better for the less fortunate who come among us. Thank you for watching. I'm Jenny Campbell. I'm looking forward to see you next week.
Welcome to Health and Wellness. Hi, I'm Dr. David Carr. Now, maybe it's your demanding boss, morning gridlock on the roads, or relationship problems with a friend or family member. Whatever the cause, it's likely you experience some level of stress on a daily basis. Therefore, in today's episode, let's talk some more about stress. Now, while some day-to-day stress is normal and can even be a good thing if it motivates you, chronic, overwhelming stress can have a negative impact on your physical, mental, and emotional well-being. Knowing how to spot the signs and symptoms that you're under too much stress can help you stay aware and address the issues before they harm your health. Now, let's focus on the physical signs. Now, you might be overly stressed without even knowing it. Maybe you have certain physical symptoms and blame it on an illness or other condition. But the truth is, stress itself can cause problems in your organs, tissues, and just about every system in your body. Depending on how you handle stress, you might have symptoms that affect everything from your hormones to your heart and more. Now, some of the physical signs that your stress levels are too high include pain or tension in your head, chest, stomach, or muscles. Your muscles tend to tense up when you're stressed, and over this time can cause headaches, migraines, or musculoskeletal problems. Now, you can also have digestive problems. These can include diarrhea and constipation, or nausea and vomiting. Stress can affect how quickly food moves through your system and the way your intestines absorb nutrients. Also, you can have reproductive issues. Stress can cause changes to your sex drive, problems with irregular or painful periods in women, or impotence and problems with sperm production in men. Now, whether you're a man or a woman, you might also feel reduced sexual desire when you're under too much stress. Now, it can also have changes to your heart rate and blood pressure. Now, when you're overwhelmed with stress, your body goes into what we call the fight or flight mode, which triggers your adrenal glands to release the hormones cortisol and adrenaline. Now, these can make your heart beat faster and your blood pressure rise. Now, this usually happens when there's a momentary stressor, and the effects pass once it's over. Now, for example, you might find your heart racing if you're late for a meeting, but then it calms down once you're there. However, over time, too many episodes of this kind of acute stress can cause inflammation in your arteries, which can be a contributing factor to heart attacks. Now, let's focus on the mental and emotional sides. Stress can also affect how you think and feel, making it tough to get through your normal responsibilities and making rational decisions. In some cases, this kind of stress can impact behavior in other ways, and some people turn to drugs, alcohol, tobacco, or other harmful substances to cope with their feelings. Now, excessive stress can also affect your appetite, causing you to eat more or less than usual, and it may affect or eliminate your motivation to exercise and stay fit. Additionally, the feelings you get when you're stressed may make you feel like you're withdrawing from friends and family and isolating yourself. Now, some of the psychological and emotional signs that you're stressed out include you may have depression or anxiety, anger, you're irritable or restless, feeling overwhelmed, unmotivated, or unfocused, trouble sleeping or sleeping too much, racing thoughts or you're constantly worrying, and problems with your memory or concentration. Also, it can cause you to make some bad decisions. Now, you need to know when to get help. If you're struggling with stress and don't know how to cope, you may want to speak with a specialist. Now, your primary care doctor can be a good starting point. They can help you figure out if the signs and symptoms you're experiencing are from a medical issue or anxiety disorder. They can refer you to a mental health expert and provide you with additional resources and tools. Now, you need to know some of the signs when it's time to get help. Your work or school performance is suffering. You're using alcohol, drugs, or tobacco to deal with your stress. Your eating or sleeping habits change significantly, and you're behaving in ways that are dangerous to yourself, including self-mutilation. You have irrational fears and anxiety, and you have trouble getting through your daily responsibilities. You're withdrawing from friends and family, and you think about suicide or hurting other people. Now, if your stress has gotten to this point that you're thinking of hurting yourself or someone else, go to the nearest emergency room or call the police. Remember, you can get the help that you need. Now, thank you for joining me for Health and Wellness as we continue on a journey of obtaining, maintaining, and restoring good health. Please see my contact information on your screen, and remember to follow me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Dr. David Carr, and Facebook at Dr. David S. Carr. You can send any questions you may have to my email address at drdavidscar@gmail.com. Join us next time, and remember, God desires us to be prosperous and to be good health, even as our souls prosper. Now stay tuned with us. Coming up next is Alicia with personal development trends and Camila with lifestyle and entertainment.
The opportunity to see the miracles that I see every day and every moment, especially at the healing school. Thank you so much, sir. And I want to thank you, sir, for yielding yourself to God, for acting in obedience to what God told you.
Hi, I am Alicia Clark Edwards, and welcome to Personal Development Trends. Of course, on this program, we encourage you to passionately and persistently pursue your purpose. So this week, we want to talk about joy and happiness. Is there really a difference? And how can you maintain pure joy? Joy and happiness are often used interchangeably, but there is actually a big difference between them. Many distinguish between joy and happiness by saying that joy is an inner attitude, whereas happiness is a fleeting emotion based on circumstances. It is common to think of happiness as being dependent upon an experience or other external stimulus. When circumstances are positive, happiness results. When circumstances change, happiness disappears. On the other hand, joy is based on internal well-being or the anticipation of well-being. Joy can be sustained in both positive and negative circumstances. So eating a piece of cake or getting all the green lights on the way home from work may make you feel happy for a time, but this satisfaction is not lasting. Happiness is often associated with feelings of the senses. It is an emotional response. It is more about getting what you want in the moment. Joy, on the other hand, comes from within. It is a much more enduring feeling that persists no matter the circumstances. Joy is a deep feeling of contentment. It is cultivated over a lifetime and can even be born from suffering. So since joy is the ultimate aim, how can you stay in that state of joy? One thing that you can do is to study the Word of God and pray. The Bible says that the joy of the Lord is our strength. This joy comes through the Word of God. Staying committed to prayer and keeping your heart and your mind committed to the Word of God can bring forth pure joy. The other thing that you can do is to give yourself a break from the day-to-day world. Nurture yourself. Set up a time just for you, when you can disconnect from daily responsibilities and get away from the noise, stimulation, and demands of this world. Joy comes easily when we focus on our needs in a caring and in a loving way. Get a massage, close the door, put your feet up, and watch the world outside your window. These kinds of activities replenishes us and gives our body and soul a chance to feel pure joy. Remind yourself, my job is to take care of myself. The other thing is to honor yourself consciously and frequently. Joy doesn't come from others, it comes from within. Interrupt negative thoughts about yourself and replace them with statements that honor yourself, such as, I'm fine the way I am. I'm whole and complete. I did my best. I can do this. I love myself. Also, focus on the good and what you did well. Write down self-appreciations so you can read and say them frequently. The more you reinforce these concepts, the more they will become your reality. Another thing is to actively seek joy through inspiration. Another way to get more joy into our lives is to find it through activities that stretch our perceptions and take us out of ordinary day-to-day life. Engaging in meditation and prayer are two obvious ways to produce a feeling of well-being, serenity, and joy. Being alone in nature is another way to feel the joy of beauty and oneness with a greater whole. Undertake a challenging activity with a commitment to mastering it. Think of a project you've wanted to accomplish, whether it's creating a small flower garden in your yard, learning how to give your car a tune-up, or mastering the tango. The process of setting a goal, learning the necessary steps to achieve it, And giving it your best until you've mastered it will generate high self-esteem and pride. Those are feelings associated with joy. So remember, the Word of God says that the joy of the Lord is our strength. Do not let anyone or anything steal your joy in this season. So thank you so much for joining me this week. I hope that you found the information to be valuable. For more personal development trends and insights, feel free to visit my website at millionairebeauty.com, where you will also learn more about our outreach arm, The Beauty of Growth, and also my personal and professional coaching business, ELC Advanced Global Solutions. Tune in next week for more personal development trends.
Welcome to Lifestyle and Entertainment. I am Camelia Kelly. This week we have a wonderful, awesome guest with us. She's going to be sharing with us and she's going to be informing us of her life story. I can't wait to get into it. So I do not want to introduce her. I want her to introduce herself. How are you? Good evening.
Good evening, my dear. I am fine, thank you.
All right, so you're here for a wonderful reason.
Yes,
and
I
a
am.
specific reason. Tell us why are you here?
So I am here to share my testimony with everyone about the goodness of God, as well as to introduce my book, right, which is entitled From the Root to the Fruit, Rising Above Adversity.
All right, so before you get into the book, I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am Shanae Cooper Robinson. Yes, I'm taken, a mother of two.
You're taken.
I'm a mother of two. I am a God-fearing individual. I am goal-driven, self-driven, and I am an educator as well as an author.
So when you say an educator, you are a teacher, correct? By profession?
Yes, I am.
All right. And what subject do you teach?
So because I'm at the primary level, I have to teach all the different subject areas.
Oh, that means I can send my children to your school then?
No problem.
Okay.
And rest assured that she will be well taken care of.
Whoa, I like that. And you'll insert a little God thing in it, cause...
Yes, because in everything we do, God has to be the head of our life. I put God first in everything that I do.
Okay, so Mrs. Cooper Robinson, tell us a little bit about your book, From the Root to the Fruit, Rising Above Adversities. Tell us a little bit about it.
All right, so as the name suggests, this book documents my life experiences. It highlights my grassroots encounters, my upbringing, my triumphs, my success, my defeat, just about everything. It highlights the journey from struggle or challenges to success, right? This book, it embodies perseverance, determination, because I am from dire poverty. I grew up in a household where it was just my mother alone, right? And I've been through a lot. My sister was raped at the age of 6 years old.
Whoa.
My mom lost her mind after that incident.
Whoa.
Yes, and at the time, my mom had a baby, and you know how it goes. She's having lost her mind and having that baby. It was very rough. That incident has affected my sibling as well as I, psychologically, emotionally, and life has never been the same for us since. Because of that same incident, we were forced to go and live with our grandmother in the country area. And that was where I felt the utmost point of hardship, right? Yes. Talk about a person might see you right now at this stage and say, oh, the glory, but they don't know the story about it. Because this girl here that you're seeing sitting right here, I usually have to go to bush to look wood. I have to do a lot of stuff, right? It was a challenging journey, and it was just my mom alone, right? But she went through everything and she persevered. She fathered us without a father and all that, and it was quite rough. But with the grace of God, I rose above my adversities. right? I got through that part of my life, or that point of my life, right? Because of the grace of God, right? And no, seeing that level of poverty that I was in, right? I said that I'm going to use education as a means to elevate myself from poverty, right? So I went on to college. While being at college, it was very rough. I can chart my journey. I remember when I first started out, I remember I was living with a bishop and he left me at a taxi stand and I took a taxi, right? While other students were there with their parents, I took a taxi with my luggages and I went to college. And while being there, it was very rough. God powered me through everything, right? Financial challenges. There were times when I wanted to do my exam, but I could not do my exam because no money. But God was there with me on the journey. He has been my constant guide, my provider, right? Even in the book where I've written about my $500 testimony. It's a long story, yes. I remember I went to a tent meeting in Kingston and the pastor said that, look, just sow a seed, right? I was not compelled. I went to another meeting the following night, right? And it was there before the pastor said anything. The word of God said to me, if you want to watch God work for you, just sow a seed of $500. That's powerful. Yes, and I gave that $500. And at the time when I was struggling in college, right? I didn't have any laptop. I had to walk to the lab in the cold nights, late nights and stuff like that. And I trust God, right? I want you to hold it at that point, Mrs. Robinson. You trusted God. A lot of us go through different experiences, and I liked what you said about a lot of persons see the glory now and they don't know the story. But this is where we come to the end of this week's segment, and we're gonna pick up from that college story. We're gonna pick up from that $500 because sometimes persons don't know the benefits of sowing seeds and the benefits of giving enough. So that is it for this week on lifestyle and entertainment. When we come back next week, we're gonna pick up right there at that $500. We're gonna pick up right there next week. It's Mrs. Shanae Cooper Robinson. This is lifestyle and entertainment. Her book, From the Root to the Fruit, Rising Above Adversities. I'm Camelia Kelly. Next up is a Vox Pop. Let's take a look.
Hello and welcome to MTM TV's Vox Pop segment. I'm your host Raquel, and today we're going to be heading into the streets asking the question:
children have autonomy over their own bodies and their own pleasures. The African, Caribbean, and Pacific group of states is about to sign an agreement with the EU with this and other alarming stipulations. This treaty would force us to implement school programs that teach our children that they have the right to sexual experiences. Our government is about to sign this treaty that would bind us to these terms for 20 years. These are the type of human rights that are referred to in the ACP-EU agreement. We cannot sign this document as is, so share this video with your friends, family, pastor, member of parliament, anybody, and let's make our government know that this is not the Jamaica we want to live in.
Alright, so here we have a lovely gentleman of the Jamaican public, and he's going to tell us how he feels about this treaty that the Jamaican government wants to sign, giving children the right to have autonomy over their own bodies and their own pleasures, and having this system set up in the curriculum. Go ahead, sir.
No, I think this is barbaric. You know?
Yes.
I don't think we'll have any more children. Right? This can't work. It's not going to work. Right? Because I think children should be children. They should live their life and grow to adulthood before they take a decision whether they want to have sex or not. But right now, no.
Okay, thank you so much for your opinion.
So that don't make sense. I mean, then what's the need for parents if children have control over their own bodies? I mean, and what's going to happen after a while? They can do anything they want to do. So what's the need? Why do then they don't need any guidance, do they? That just don't make sense.
So, what do you think the Jamaican public should do about the fact that the Jamaican government wants to implement this?
Well, we have a right. You know, we as the people of Jamaica, we do have our rights as a people in terms of what we want to see, and even in relation to our children. So I mean, we have a say. We have a say in it. So they're just going ahead and signing matters of this nature without people's consent. That is definitely a problem.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, there you have it. The public's opinion on whether or not the government should sign this treaty, giving children the autonomy over their own bodies and their own pleasures. If you also want to share your opinion on this topic, feel free to leave a comment on our YouTube channel. It is MTM TV. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host Raquel, and it's back to the news desk with Karika.
Thank you for tuning in with us for this week's episode of the Erudite News Hour, MTM TV's news magazine. I'm Karika, and on behalf of all of us here at MTM TV, have yourselves a great evening.